important that we understand that we should divorce ourselves from our own judgment and from the judgment of other people, because when their comments become neutral, you listen to your own resonance more. And if you can get into that place where you can listen to your own instincts and your own inner voice, again, I know it sounds woo-woo, but it's true, then you can see, wow, that there's a great book by Terry Cole Whitaker called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And I have never in my life heard a more true statement. And especially as this morphs into sexuality and your sensuality, research shows that women who set up their own idea of beauty have a better body image and are more able to let themselves go during the sexual experience. Because the way to have better sex is to be able to let yourself go and commune with that partner, whether it's a one-night stand, whether you're at a play party, whether you're with your partner. To be able to create a intimacy can't happen unless you absolve yourself of all judgment.
Thank you. A lot of times, I have no problem calling myself fat. But I noticed there's a lot of my friends, these people who care about me, they'll be quick to say, oh, no, you're not fat. And I just look at them and it's like, no, I am fat. What you're doing now is really projecting your fear of being fat on me. And you want to say, oh, you're not fat, because what they're really trying to make me say is I'm not unattractive and I'm not unworthy of love, which I don't put into that word fat. And when you confront people or you make it known that I'm describing myself neutrally using a word that is valid, I am not packing it with all that other negative stuff that they might. And then you have to make them knowledgeable that that's their problem, and they shouldn't be projecting their problems on your body.
Yeah, and you can politely tell people that. Shaming people is not a good way to make them lose weight or to learn. I just try to gently educate them that I get that they're trying to be polite. They've been taught that it's rude to tell someone they're fat. It's rude to acknowledge it. I've started, when I meet people that I really want to know, I just mention that I know I'm fat. It changes the whole dynamic. It's like, we're not ignoring the elephant in the room. Pun intended. So they don't have to just pretend. They don't have to avoid the issue. It's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you want to share about this? Oh wait, so this is jealous.
There's obviously everybody here probably knows that size discrimination and different forms of discrimination are very real. And for me, obviously, I'm a woman of color, and I'm also a sex worker. And I've seen discrimination from a lot of different angles when it comes to sizeism. Whether it's, like I said before, I was going to the doctor, and I'm kind of trying to tiptoe around the fact that I'm recovering from eating disorder. And he's like, oh, well, you should really concentrate on losing weight. This happens to a lot of people, and there's this thought that medical professionals are somehow superhuman, and they are just automatically better people, but they're human. So the same biases that everybody else has about size and color and how those two things might come together, it's still happening for medical professionals, where they might be treating an overweight Black woman for depression, and they're going to let their own biases against those two groups color how they treat her. And that's becoming a major problem with our health industry. And there's always, I'm on a podcast called The Alter Negro Show, and we have a segment called This Week in Black Women Ain't Shit, because it seems like every week there's a new study that comes out describing what is wrong with Black women, and it's always, we're all fat and we can't deal with the fact that we're fat, or we're too fat and we're too happy about it, and that's why we're going to continue being fat. We're fat, and that's why we're not good mothers. That's why our kids are going to be fat. And the sad part is, it was always about, it was a weekly show, and I started compiling this for that weekly segment, and I had a backlog of 30 articles, and I only was doing it for a month.
Wow. Wow.
So we then expanded it, and we looked at like other groups, and there's We had the Asians can abuse your child because they're skinny and good, and different stereotypes that we permit to happen in our media culture. Also, it directly correlates to how we're treated, personally by medical professionals, and in any medical profession, not medical, any profession that you do. Like for me, as I said, I was an exotic dancer, and I was a cam model, and I had a lot of instances where I'd be hired to dance at a club or a party, and there would be quote unquote the normal dancers, and they didn't want us changing in the same changing room as them. There was 2 times I was working at a club at Hunts Point, not the most safe part of the Bronx, and there was one changing room that had like the bouncers protecting it, and they didn't want us changing or showering with them, so they closed off part of the VIP, and they made us change there. So we just had random guys keep on coming in, and we had to try to shut the curtains, and they just said,
You said they, was it the owners?
no, it was the other dancers, and they just wanted nothing to do with us. And I would be performing, because usually for strip clubs, there's main stage and side stages. And for the first half of the night, they wouldn't let the bigger dancers dance on the main stage. They only wanted us to dance on the side stages. And this happened so often that I stopped dancing at clubs, because I figured, this is cutting into A, my income, and B, it's forcing me to dance or perform in situations that aren't as safe as the other dancers, because the other dancers had the dressing room that had the bouncer that stopped people from coming in. We didn't get that. The bouncers were like walking other dancers to the train station to their cars. When we were done, we were just done. So, and this also works with different situations, like I say here, high class and mainstream. Those are kind of code words for usually thin and white. So there's different levels of sex work. For escorts, a lot of the more high class agencies will have a driver for you, will have security for you, will give you W-2s, will be a lot more interested in your well-being, but they don't accept women of color and they don't accept women of size. So that forces a lot of women that are outside of that mainstream lens to then either work independently or work under pimps, and it just becomes more dangerous because you're not an ideal. And then you're expected to do more things, different acts, for less money than an ideal person. For porn stars, or for porn performers, they are paid less if you're a woman of color, and you're paid less if you're a woman of size. And it all makes it seem like you're not going to be taken seriously. As non-serious as people take sex workers, being a sex worker of size, you're taken even less seriously. So it's real, and for sex work, it could cost you your life. If there's a difference between having a driver and walking to someplace means you're going to be out in the open. At Hunts Point, there's a high murder rate, so it's dangerous. And I just wanted to.
I really appreciate you bringing that to, I wasn't aware of that distinction, and I want to know that kind of thing. That's not okay.
It's not okay, and also it sends a message that the value of sexuality for people of size isn't worth the ideal sexuality, which is false. Oh, question.
Actually, this is just a comment because there's a flip side to that coin, which is the hypersexuality of women of size, especially women of color.
Oh, well, that usually it's a fetishization. And it happens to women of size, and also on the flip side of that, there's websites that focus on extremely thin women, and the fantasy that they're selling is that these women are starving for your approval. And I also notice, while I'm a BBW performer, I don't usually perform in BBW spaces. because I don't want to feed in to the feeder, because that is a fantasy based on it depowering me. They want me to be so fat that I'm immobile and I'm a slave to my desire for food, which obviously for me, the recovering anorexic, that's really not my case. But when I look at communities that talk about the sexuality of fat women and fat women of color, because a lot of times there is a concentration on that, especially fat Black women, and it has a connotation that it builds on the assumption that we're immoral, and we're this lazy fat welfare queen in the ghetto, and we just need to suck this white cock to make a payment on our delinquent loans and everything. So the fantasies that are around the hypersexuality of fat women really is about it's aligning our lack of morals with our bodies, because we can't say no and we're insatiable and we have no control over ourselves.
Thank you.
Mm.
That was
So powerful. Yeah.
I really love these slides. Who taught you what was beautiful? We see it all the time, everywhere. And Jayla, thank you for getting these slides together for us.
Mhm.
The photoshopping that's done all the time, everywhere. So these are the before and after on the left, or your left, yeah. And these are the same people. And they just melt them away with Photoshop and create something different that no healthy human probably could attain.
Mm-mm.